You know.
Okay, well, we're already going.
All
Oh,
right, and welcome to Mythical Monster Investigations, where we're going to be taking a look at the Odyssey, which little different from what we normally do because normally we try to focus on a monster or maybe a hero or like one solid mythological beast, but we're mostly doing this because Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey is going to be coming out, and some of the things we've heard make us very worried about it. So this is going to kind of show what we should be seeing in the Odyssey movie. And after it comes out on streaming, we can kind of compare and see what he got right, what he got wrong, and what Hollywood just messed up altogether.
Well, I already see one thing got wrong. It doesn't have us in it. First big failure right there.
There you go. I agree with that. Because clearly from the image, we would make the movie better automatically.
I like how you have to have the suit, and it would still be more historically accurate than his version.
Oh, God, you're so right. Especially with the art. Okay, let's not go into it. We can save all of our griping for when we actually see the movie and then, completely talk about how much he got wrong. So, of this, we're going to be taking a look at the Odyssey, which I don't know how long this is going to go because, one, we have covered a few of these monsters in other videos, and I'm going to mention them. So, anybody who's interested, they can go look up those videos if they want more details. And also, the Odyssey is kind of strange in that a lot happens and yet not as much as you think happens. But we'll go into that. So, let's start off. Look at the Odyssey. I'm your host, Archimage, along with my co host.
Shadow or Fox?
and Zed.
And go ahead and switch slides, and we're going to take a look at the Odyssey. So, let's do a little bit of basics. The Odyssey is one of two major Greek epics which have been attributed to Homer. Now, there is some questions about whether or not Homer existed at all. I don't know. I haven't really looked into it, and that's not what we're going to focus on. Now, the Odyssey is kind of the sequel to the Iliad, and most people know the Iliad as detailing the Trojan War. Now, there is a little bit of misconception in this, in that the Iliad actually ends with the funeral of Hector. The Iliad is mostly about a lot of the Iliad is about the rage of Achilles, and it ends with Achilles' final impulsive rageal moment of killing Hector for essentially slaying his cousin in an honorable duel where he thought he was killing Achilles. And that's where the Iliad ends. The rest of the story that we see with Achilles being shot in his heel by an arrow, Paris killing him, even the Trojan horse and the exact movements actually come later on in other works by Roman poets, specifically Aeneid. So the epic of the Iliad and the Odyssey is actually incomplete, missing this final notion of how the war ended exactly. That was made. That was basically filled in later on.
I think it was
Did
what, 3
anyone know that?
books? Yeah, no, I originally was looking up the Odyssey. With the whole Odyssey thing, I looked up the Iliad, and that's when I had found out that it was split. Is technically like I knew that the Iliad ends at a very strange place with Hector's
Yeah.
death, but what I didn't know was essentially there's like 2 books, and then the Odyssey essentially, where I think the second book right after that is going over Achilles killing the Amazonian and the Ethiopian king. And then
Yes.
the book after that is the Trojan horse and the sacking of Troy, I believe. And then the Odyssey take place after those books, which is the aftermath of what comes after the siege of Troy.
Yeah. So we may focus on those on another day, but honestly, there's so much on the Iliad. But for the Odyssey, so to start off, the Odyssey is actually mostly told in a second-hand account given by Odysseus to his hosts, King, I'm going to butcher this, Aulunus and his queen Ariete, who find him and basically are the ones who help him get to his final home, which we'll see this. Basically, they were throwing a big party for him, and in the party, they were they had a minstrel who was talking about the great deeds of Troy, and Odysseus broke into tears, realizing that they were talking about some of his deeds as well. And then they ask him to tell who he is, and that's how we then proceed. Is where we're told his adventures as he's telling them to the king and queen. So
That's
that's how the Odyssey's laid out,
that's what always got me. The Odyssey, one of the greatest stories of all time, is a flashback story.
pretty much.
That's what always got me back in the day, was that the whole thing is one giant flashback, and the only
I mean,
present day stuff we get is at the very is when Odysseus return home and have to deal with the suitors, which is the
yes,
climax.
yes, absolutely. Like the whole rest of the book is basically no, it's not basically. It is a flashback. He's telling the story, mostly because he's the only one who survived, which we'll get into. But now that we've kind of got the premise that we are going to now look at this story as he told it to a king and queen. Any questions? No?
Nope.
Good. Okay, then go ahead and move on to the next slide. So this is the actual journey. So this is everything that and everywhere that Odysseus went. So as you can see on the scale, it's actually not that far of a journey. He basically kind of stays around Italy, most and bits of Turkey. So, like globally speaking, he doesn't go very far. It's a pretty small journey, all in all, which I just want to mention because I actually found maps that plot out his journey. I think it's funny just how badly he really got lost. So let's go ahead and start with that. Go ahead and switch to the next slide. So we start. He sacks Troy, and then upon leaving, they were separated from the main army by a terrible storm. Uh, this was Zeus, who was no, this was I think either Poseidon or Zeus, basically getting a little bit of revenge for how they mocked Troy, and basically Odysseus' force got lost. Now, in most theatrical versions, because they've made many movies about this, Odysseus is just him and his ship and his crew. At the time, there's actually more than one ship when it's being done. Now it whittles down, but at the start of his journey, I think he has like 3 or 4 ships and his men with him. Because remember, Odysseus is a king after all. So he's going to travel with more than just a few men. Uh, now, after the terrible storm, he gets blown off course and he decides to go to a land called Ismara. So as you can see, Ithaca's down farther. He kind of goes upward north way. Now, when he went to Ismara, he and his men faced the Sicyones, and his men wanted to conquer the land. Now, they conquered the port town and actually had some success because they were battle-hardened warriors. But then the Cicerones grabbed the rest of their neighbors and they all came at them. And you know how people say numbers don't win a war? They're lying. Numbers can absolutely 100% win a war. Because while the Greeks were the skilled fighters and all had just gotten done with the Great Trojan War, there were just too many of them to fight, which meant that they had to retreat without sacking the city completely and had to head back into the sea. Good so far?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure both of you know that numbers can definitely take down a skilled warrior.
Yes. Now, this
Yeah.
skill could have probably won, but just taking the port city alone, well, I don't know what made them think they could. I'm assuming Ismara didn't have walls to it, or the walls were very small that they thought they could take it and sack it.
Uh, yeah, I don't believe it had walls, but they were just not prepared for the sheer number of forces that came
To be
afterwards.
fair, you said that they got their neighbors to assist them. I would not think that someone
Yes.
could rally their neighbors fast enough to mobilize their army to defend a single city, because at this point, Greek isn't a nation. It's a bunch of city states, all with people calling themselves king of their city, essentially. So it would
Yeah,
make
loosely
sense.
yeah, loosely formed into alliance, by King Agamemnon and the
Very
others.
loosely.
No, very loosely.
S-
Very loosely.
So in this situation, it would make sense to just to give people context. It would make sense that you could go and attack a single city and not expect them to have any help. So the fact that they were able to get their neighbors to help them is what is really amazing to me.
Yeah. I want to point out that despite Odysseus being king, his men ultimately overruled him and did what they want. And that's
That
going to be a bit of
happens a
a
lot.
theme through this.
Yeah, that happens
Yeah,
a
that's
lot.
we're going to see. Well, we'll get to that. So go ahead and switch slides. So from Ismar, he gets way off course somehow and ends up at his next location, the island of the Lotus Eaters. And yeah, you can see he gets way off course. Like, holy crap.
That's an understatement. How do you leave the Mediterranean Sea and end up in the north tip of Africa?
He
He's
really
literally
did.
he's south of Carthage.
Okay, so according to the epic, Odysseus did some horrible things in the Trojan War, but he also bragged about being, greater than the gods at one point. And you know how the gods feel about that.
Yeah, I can see the direct 90-degree cut where his ship was about to go to Ithaca and then it make a 90-degree turn and darts towards Sicily and then towards Africa.
Yeah, no, he got really, really lost.
Poseidon just took a backhand to his ship in that moment.
The sad thing is, Poseidon's not even that pissed yet. Okay, so go ahead and switch slides. This is where we end up on the first of his more bizarre adventures. The first one was just failed sacking the city. This is one of the more bizarre ones at first, and this is the island of the Lotus Eaters. Now, basically, straightforward. Odysseus sent out some men to scout the area. They met some very friendly people who gave them fruit to eat and little flowers. When they ate this, they forgot all about home, became intoxicated, and just went to sleep. They didn't want to move. Odysseus gets annoyed when he finds out about this, and he basically goes in, grabs them, and drags them back to the ship where they are screaming no. And he ties them in his ship and sails off until basically until the lotus flower wears off. So, all in all, pretty simple. Not a lot to it. Don't eat them. Now, that's the part of the myth. Since we haven't talked about this, let's take a look at some possible historical connections. Go ahead and switch slides. Now, there are plants that can do this. One of the most famous and well known would be the poppy plant, which, of course, is what heroin is made of. Uh, when it's not being used as an illicit drug to, give people an artificial high of dopamine, it's actually used for a fairly effective painkiller. It's native around most of the northern hemisphere, including Africa. So it it does fit. And of course, the other one is the blue lotus, or as it's also called, the Egyptian water lotus. Now, this one is also used for relaxation, sleep, and giving senses of euphoria. Though in high doses, it can cause various less uh, less pleasant symptoms such as hallucinations, confusion, and dizziness. So these plants are possible, but they all cause kind of like this calm, dreamlike state. So the possibility of them eating something or being given a plant that kind of makes them high is highly possible. Now, there is some discrepancy. Some translations of the Odyssey are kind of ambiguous on whether or not it is the plants or the fruit they eat that makes them intoxicated. Which, well, the fruit making them intoxicated, that's kind of a stretch. But the flowers are far more likely. So I guess if I had to choose, if there was any reality based on this myth, it might be the blue lotus as lotus eaters. It makes more sense. What do y'all think?
I would say Lotus, and I would say maybe the when they're describing it as a fruit, maybe they mean that the flower tastes sweet like a fruit.
Could be.
I haven't read the actual translation, so I don't know how it described the fruit.
It's pretty just sweet fruit. So it's like they basically ate food. So, but yeah, but the Lotus Eaters were pretty calm. So almost this was like running into a island full of hippies who gave you LSD.
Yeah,
That'd be the equivalent. Um,
I'm
yeah.
surprised that
So
there's literally a plant equivalent to poppy and opium in that
yeah.
area that is just called the blue lotus.
Oh yeah. No, it's a thing. I was actually surprised. I thought this would be more difficult to find, but no, it came up immediately. So I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
well,
I
all
knew
right.
poppy and opium, and that was the first thing that came to mind. Where I'm like, maybe it's a poppy or opium plant because those get you high, and those is something people would chew on back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But no, the lotus plant seems like a good contender considering the story. So yeah, uh, like I said, pretty straightforward. Any questions?
Nope, let's get high.
All
Blaze
right,
it.
next slide.
420.
So from the lotus eaters, he sails upward and he ends up in Sicily, and this is where he meets the Cyclops, which we have covered in the past with another video, specifically the Cyclops video in our Mythical Monster Investigation. So if you'd like more information on that uh, and the monster of the Cyclops, go ahead and check that one out. But I'll cover briefly what goes on without going too much into detail we've already gone into. So go ahead and switch slides. Again, basically, uh, they come upon an island. They are in need of supplies and everything else. They go exploring and they find big herds of sheep. They do realize that someone probably owns this because it looks like there's habitants. So I want to make it clear Odysseus and his men brought wine and other things to trade. They were not going to steal the sheep or anything else they found, especially when they found a cave with goods like cheese and other stuff in it along with the sheep. So they did bring wine to trade. And that's when they met the Cyclops, Polyphemus, which apparently that's how you say his name.
Yes, okay.
Now, Polyphemus was a giant Cyclops, and when he came to his cave and found the men there, they all made it very clear, Odysseus especially, that they wanted to trade wine or trade goods for some supplies. Polyphemus laughed because trading with them, people who were beneath him, was not going to happen because he saw them as beneath him. He was a son of Poseidon, and I forget who his mother was, but
A nymph.
basically he was a nymph. He was semi-divine, and to trade or even think of these people as someone who needed to be talked to was beneath him. So
Spec-
he immediately just ate two of them.
Specifically one of the the nymphs, one of the 30, I think it's one of the 32, or there was like a huge number of nymphs that was born directly of the Titans.
Yeah,
Of the Titans that ally with the Olympians, stay neutral during the Titan monarchy. So
Titan, the
uh
War of the Titans, the
yeah, it was
Titanomicon.
Titan Amiki, oh, I believe is how it's said. But
I'm
basically,
not even.
he was so he was definitely like in terms of like deity, he wasn't a god, but he was the son of Poseidon, along with the son of a daughter of a nymph who was essentially one of the sea nymphs, who was one of the daughters of the ocean Titaness, I believe, or Titan. So he did come from essentially like, his claim for having a stick up his ass was merited, is what I'm getting at. But it should also be noted, I believe Odysseus at one point did invoke the rules of hospitality to Polyphemus. Like, I believe he straight up said, "We are guests. We are not coming
Yes,
as invaders."
Yes, he did, because
we
again, that's
come
why he
bearing
brought the
gifts,
wine and goods. Yeah.
especially to show that they was guests. Invoking the right of guests in ancient Greek is a big deal. You're not supposed to harm your guests. I need to be very clear about that. Doesn't matter if you're a god or a titan, you're not supposed to harm guests. This is a rule set by Zeus.
Yeah, but basically he didn't think he needed to follow that rule because they were basically animals to him.
Yes.
So, like,
Not
any version
colonizers.
that's yeah, any version that says that, Polyphemus was in the right is wrong. He's
No,
not.
no,
He's a
no,
jerk.
no.
He's 100% in the wrong.
I think even in
Like, it's not even a question.
one of the versions I read, where Odysseus was being his crew was being rambunctious, and they essentially started eating some of Polyphemus' things. It was made very clear that he did apologize and he gave them wine as a offering for forgiveness. So it's like, even in cases where they make Odysseus look like the bad guy, they're still
He
trying
still
to show.
clearly he still clearly went there to trade. He did not go there to steal.
Yes, he made it
Like, in
clear that he apologized, and
yeah, in every version. Like, so no, the Polyphemus is 100% in the wrong.
no, yeah, he's not the kindly native who got taken advantage of by the Columbus figure of Odysseus, as one
No.
version may come out to be.
Yeah, which is a stupid version. Like, no, this was a monster who ate people.
Yes. Oh, and I should
And, like,
also add that cannibalism is one of the great sins that Zeus said is not allowed. So I'm just
yeah,
throwing that out there as well.
yeah, cannibalism is a huge taboo, especially in Greek culture. And we're gonna see that a lot,
So
unfortunately.
I guess the
Um,
reason I'm hopping on this is because the version that Nolan is using is a version of the Odyssey where they try to make Polyphemus a a unwilling villain,
sympathetic.
and and Odysseus the bad guy, but essentially the Odyssey goes out of its way to personify Polyphemus as a bad guy by making him both a sinner in the ways of he's a cannibalism, which is a grave sin, one of the gravest sins. The only thing worse than cannibalism is killing your father and parents, which ironically enough Zeus did.
Patricide,
But
yeah.
yeah, and cannibalism, ironically enough, also something Zeus did. But we don't talk about that.
To be fair, he was tricked.
Who, Zeus?
Yeah.
Not when he ate his first wife.
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, I
I'm
forgot
referring
about
to
that.
Metis.
Okay.
He was not tricked
Right,
about
right,
that
right,
one.
right. Right, I forgot about that. Okay, look, there are lots and lots of myths. Some of them are more, like, pronounced than others.
Yeah, no,
Like,
this one
forgive me
was
for
not.
forgetting one every now and again.
And the other thing was Polyphemus. He broke the rule of hospitality, which was another grave sin. So by
Yeah,
breaking these two grave sin, it was very clear the authors wanted him to be portrayed in the eyes of the reader as a villain by making him break two. This is like making someone a villain in a Saturday morning cartoon by making them steal and kill someone.
yeah.
You know they're
And
the
plus
bad guy
that
at that point.
the Greeks did this a lot, where basically if they wanted you to see someone as an unrefined monster, like an irredeemable monster, he was a cannibal.
Yes,
Easiest way to do it.
exactly.
Like, he was cannibal, he was irredeemable, he was a monster, you couldn't save him, there's no redemption for him. He's basically a wild animal.
Thus the Minotaur, thus some
Yes.
I think even thus the Cyclops, thus most monsters that eat people in Greek stories are, man eaters. That's what they go out of their
That
way to tell that, essentially.
that's why most, native tribes were described as cannibals if they were in any way warlike.
Yes.
That's why. But, yeah, so in the context of the story, he was straight up eating people, he's not the good guy, he was a jerk. And that's the nicest way to put it. Like, so, and he not only ate two of his men right on the spot, he moved a giant boulder in front of his cave, sealing them in because he was going to take his time and eat them all slowly. Now, Odysseus wanted to get out. His men just suggested killing the Cyclops, but Odysseus pointed out they had no way to move the rock. So if they killed the Cyclops, then they're kind of stuck in there. So Odysseus came up with a very clever plan. Well, I don't know. Okay, his plan was very simple. He got the Cyclops drunk. And when he was drunk, he grabbed a sharpened stake and he poked his eye out. Now, when he was offering him the wine, to get him drunk, the Cyclops did decide to show a little bit of hospitality and ask him what his name was. If someone buys you a drink, the very least you should do is get their name. Odysseus claimed that his name was Nobody. And apparently, this is actually clever. And the reason why is that when Odysseus stabbed Polyphemus in the eye, he cried out. And there were other Cyclopses on the island. And they rushed to his aid and they asked, "What happened? Is someone killing you?" And Polyphemus said, "Nobody is killing me." And because of that, the other Cyclops said, "Well, he said nobody's killing him, so I guess we can go."
Yeah. No, I
Uh,
did love this. I
yeah,
thought that was the best part of this story was him calling himself nobody was brilliant in two ways. One is a play on words, so him yelling, "Nobody's attacking me, nobody is killing me, nobody just stabbed me in the eye." he, it made all the other Cyclops not help him. But the other
which,
big thing was
yeah,
he just said he was the son of Poseidon, and he was the son of other deities who was rulers of the sea. And by Odysseus saying he was nobody, that means nobody they couldn't retaliate against him directly. They wouldn't know who he was
exactly. Which we're
until
going to find out is an important plot point in this.
yes, until
Yeah, but we'll get to that in a minute. So basically, the Cyclops was blind, but slight problem. They're still stuck in the cave. So what are they going to do? Again, we have Odysseus come up with a brilliant plan. The Cyclops had to let the sheep out to graze, but he would feel the tops of the sheep so that the men couldn't sneak out. So what did they do? They tied themselves to the bottom of the sheep. And doing that, they managed to get out. The Cyclops did find out about this and chased after them, but they managed to make it to the ship. He threw boulders at them, but he couldn't see, so what was he going to do? And this is where Odysseus made his dumb mistake.
there we
When he
go.
was escaping, he boasted and told the Cyclops his name, that he was Odysseus. But because of this, the Cyclops cursed him and called to his father, and basically it pissed off Poseidon, and Poseidon cursed him on the sea, which, since he needed the sea to basically get home, was kind of a boneheaded move. But
Yes.
Odysseus wouldn't learn about the curse right away. Anything you want to add?
No, no, that was always the worst part was his ego was his downfall here.
Yeah, because while being clever, he was a little full of it.
Yes.
Actually,
Lil.
he might have been full of it because he was clever.
Yes, there we go. I like Odysseus, but I'm not gonna deny his gravest lack of quality, which was his ego.
And honestly, as we're going to find out, having kind of men who would not listen. Which
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll get more into that. So that's the myth. We talked about the Cyclops, but one thing I do want to bring up, go ahead and switch slides, is a little bit about the story about the sheep. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen sheep. They're not that big.
No.
Now, there are the largest breeds of sheep, which could potentially be big enough for a man to hide under, would be the Suffolk sheep, the Lincoln sheep, and the Cordell sheep. And some of these sheep are actually in the right area of Sicily to be the said sheep. Now, the problem is sheep are not really built to carry people. In fact, if you try to ride a sheep, you could do some harm to their back. So I actually don't know how feasible it would be to strap yourself beneath a sheep because apparently in modern day, no one's really tried to do that.
I wonder why.
I wonder why. Yeah, so I guess it's just maybe a sign of cleverness, but I
I
don't know how feasible it would be
I
like
always
in
took
real
they
life.
just they hid themselves underneath the sheep, and the strap part was just strapping them so they could keep up with the sheep, and they wouldn't go faster or slower than the sheep.
I mean, I guess potentially that's something, but I don't know. That's just it. All it really says that they strapped themselves to the bottom of the sheep. It doesn't really specify if the sheep were carrying them or not.
Because
But then, if that logic, they could essentially just put the sheep on their back and walk out.
that's what I'm thinking happened essentially.
Like they wouldn't even really need a strap. So,
It
because
it
some sheep do like to be carried. I know that for a fact.
they would need a strap to keep the sheep from running off because if the
Not
sheep
if you're
has been
picking them up.
locked up in if they've been locked up in in a cave and they was hungry and ready to graze, I could see them wanting to strap the sheep to their back to keep them from trying to run away from them real quickly out the cave to go out to graze.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Though strapping a sheep to you would that'd definitely be an interesting process.
Again, I always saw it less as they actually tied the sheep to them and they just crawled underneath the sheep, and the strap was just to kind of a
Well,
play on words.
that's kind of another thing. Like if you've ever seen a sheep trying to go underneath a sheep, the leg space is fairly narrow.
Exactly. That's
There's
why
not
I
a
thought
lot
the
of room.
strapping was more of an analogy to say how close they had to get to the sheep and how much they had to stick to it in order to make it so that they could get out without the giant Cyclops feeling them sneaking out essentially.
Yeah, I guess.
I just always saw it as more of a play on word. Either that or you gotta make the sheep giants.
Yeah, which it doesn't specify. Well, it says that the sheep are pretty big, but I don't think it ever specifies that the sheep are abnormally large. But, eh. I mean, I guess that's a workaround. It's not impossible, but the bottom line is it reveals cleverness.
Or
And
maybe there's a breed
well,
of
the
giant
Cyclops
sheep
thing
that
is
we
just
don't know about
no,
that
these
just
are the
died out.
largest. Uh, I didn't look that up, but I mean, I guess it's not impossible, but like I said, it's I guess with your way, it's at least a feasible story. But basically, I think the whole point of the story is to showcase that Odysseus is quite clever, and then at the end also showcase he's rather boastful.
Hang on, I'm making the AI work for me. Maybe there
Oh
is a.
God,
That's a pretty big
why?
sheep. Maybe actually there. Where was this? Okay, no. So there was a type of They have found the closest is they found a musk ox, which had kind of resemble a goat or a sheep, which would have been big enough to actually to do what you're suggesting of strapping themselves to the bottom of of it.
Okay,
But again, it was in Eurasia, so
yeah,
China.
yeah, that makes sense. Um, Also, one last thing I'll say for this. So in our Cyclops video, we discussed how one of the origins could have been fossils of mammoths skulls or elephant skulls because they have that one large eye in the center. And if you've never seen, well, that that opening in the center where their trunk goes, and if you've never seen an elephant or anything before, it could very much look like an eye socket, a single eye socket. Now, I will say there is no evidence of any mammoth skulls ever being found on the island of Sicily. However, there have been prehistoric fossils of an extinct dwarf elephant found in caves in various parts of Sicily. So that's something.
um,
Might be a little bit of where the Cyclops myth may have come from, specifically entailing the island of Sicily, especially since the Greeks would not be familiar with an elephant.
okay, I got two more with the sheep now.
Okay.
So there is another breed that actually did went extinct. It was a type of goat that was more towards Spain, but that one would have been fairly bigger, but not as plush as a coat. The only one I can think, the other one it gave me was the Orgali sheep, which is a more modern day sheep that isn't extinct. Which is big enough actually. Surprisingly enough, that thing is huge. Um,
I don't think it's native to Sicily though, right?
no, I don't think that thing is native to Sicily. I think that thing is that's Himalayan Tibet type stuff.
Yeah. I had to avoid things that were in Asia.
Yeah, surprisingly enough, there's a lot. There's more towards Asia that would fit this. The closest one was the again the Mitragus bellicus. I'm butchering that, which was the goat, a cave, actually a cave goat that would have lived in what would be the I guess towards Spain. So
Right.
that was 4,300 years ago, though.
Yeah. So,
So maybe.
eh. But well, we're gonna kind of touch back on this a little bit, but so those are the elements, and yeah. After that, he makes his boast and he leaves. Any questions?
Nah.
All right. So go ahead and switch to the next slide. So from the Cyclops place, he then travels a little bit to get to the island of Aeola. Is that how you pronounce
I
that?
think that's the closer we'll get.
Yeah. So now this is actually one of his better stops, and yet also, when you think about it, one of the most depressing. Now, here he actually finds a king who is very hospitable, who doesn't try to kill him or poison him or, imprison him or anything like that. He's actually throws a nice banquet. He gives him a bit of hospitality. He lets them rest up, and he actually gives him the famous bag of winds. This bag is magic in nature and contains all the ill winds that can knock him off course. As long as this bag remains closed, he'll be able to sail straight home to Ithaca, which we can see on the map is not very far away. Go ahead and switch slides. So there's not much to it. He's got the bag. He can go home. The journey's almost at sight. He gets the freaking bag of winds. He's sailing home. Ithaca is in sight. And since Ithaca is in sight, he's almost there. Odysseus decides to take a nap. Now, while this is happening, his men decide to get greedy, and they notice how closely he holds that bag to his body. The problem is they don't actually know what it is since Odysseus never told them. They assumed it was treasure, and wanting a share of the treasure, they go and they open the bag. Yeah. Because of this, they let out all the ill winds, and it blows them right back to the island. And when they came back, the king had somehow realized that anyone who came back after he literally sealed all the ill winds in a bag was cursed by Poseidon. So he rejected Odysseus and threw him off his island and told him to go home. Literally, he was in sight, and his men decided to screw him over. This is not the first time this is going to happen. Any questions?
Bad luck.
Yep. Zed, what would you do with a crew like this who just screwed you over this much?
They'd all be dead.
Hold on to that thought. Okay. So, yeah, pretty straightforward. The king rejects them. Go ahead and switch slides. Moving on. So, from there, they decide to go in the opposite direction to, oh God, to the Lestrungna Harbor. Is that how you'd pronounce that?
Less Strongia? Less strong. Yeah, I don't know. That's a strange name.
All right, so whatever. Go ahead and switch slides. He goes to this harbor, and Odysseus sent out scouts to look for food. Instead, the scouts came across a bunch of giant cannibals who immediately devoured them. And then afterwards, cannibals, seeing, a good food source for once, ran after the ships. They threw stones and sank the ships and began to devour the crew. Now, at this point, Odysseus still had more ships, but that changed. The majority of them sank and were devoured by these cannibals. Odysseus and his ship, however, was farther out and hadn't come inland enough. So he was actually able to escape. Not being able to conquer the giants, he left them to die, and now he only has one ship with the one crew. And unfortunately, that's the crew that opened the bloody bag in the first place. So, kind of the worst of the worst survived in this one. And he sails away. Any questions?
More bad luck.
Yeah. So once again, we have the taboo of cannibals. These are not people you even think about, and Odysseus doesn't really even put a fight. It's like, this is the land of cannibals. We need to get out of here. Which again shows just how much the Greeks really frowned upon cannibalism. Uh yeah, so pretty quick there. Next slide. So from there, for frack's sake, this guy got lost. He heads straight upwards to the island of Aea.
A year.
Like, seriously, what
Yeah.
are these names?
A year. Yeah, no, that one you got right.
Aea. Aea. Now, this one is the more famous of ones. Go ahead and switch slides. Here, like a good king, he once again sent out men to do exploring. And half of them from this ship actually went and they discovered the home of Circe, the witch. Now, her home was filled with very docile animals, and Circe was very lovely and kind to them. And she offered them food at her table and offered them drink, which they happily took without a second thought. And after indulging in this feast, they woke up and had all been turned into pigs, because that's what she does. However, one was actually not hungry at the time, and he managed to escape. And when he did, he ran down and told Odysseus. Odysseus, being the king and apparently being a good king, was determined to get his men back. I don't know why, since they've already caused him so much trouble, but he was going after him.
Who's going to
While he
row
was
this
going,
ship?
I mean, based on what we have so far, like, this is apparently a sail ship, so he needs the wind to behave more than he needs rowers, but okay. I guess that's as good an explanation as any. Where was I going with this? Okay, so on his way to Circe's, Hermes, the god, you know, the messenger of the gods, shows up and basically tells him about Circe, and he gives him a magic herb to protect him, which he takes it, so that way the Circe's potions can't affect him. So he goes there, Circe offers him a drink, he drinks it, and to her horror, he doesn't turn into a pig. When this happens, he smiles, draws a sword, holds it to her throat, and threatens to kill her unless she transforms all his men back into their human form, which she does. And then afterwards, she invites him into her bedroom. So basically, he goes, and then a year later, he decides he might want to go back home. They also had a son in that year. Any questions?
Again, he did what he had to do.
Okay. But yeah, he definitely had to sleep with the witch
Are
who
you
turned half
going
his
to
men into
argue
pigs.
with the witch who just turned half your mane into bacon?
He had a sword at her throat.
Yeah, and look how well that did for him when he stabbed out the eye to a Cyclops he just met. You want to think who this witch
That's
is
because
related
he
to?
boasted. That's
Yeah,
because he boasted.
yeah, and she knew his name. You want to think who this witch was related to?
He could have left.
She was a witch.
He did leave, in fact.
Again, I'm just saying, he got into this trouble because he kept making the wrong people angry.
Fair enough, but he already held a sword to her throat. Don't you think making her angry is a little past the point now?
Don't you think she would get angrier if you it's like, oh, you just threatened her. Now she gives you she offer you sex and you turn her down. Imagine how well that's gonna go over when you turn a lady down.
Okay, imagine how crazy you have to be, crazy a woman has to be to immediately want to sleep with someone who has a knife to her throat.
Probably the same type of crazy woman who turned half the people she meet into bacon.
All the more reason for you to get away from the crazy woman.
All the more reason not to make her angrier.
Look, don't put your Johnson in crazy. That's a well-known thing, and especially don't have a kid with them.
Well,
Which,
I
by
mean,
the way, he left on that island.
yeah, well, that was the one smart thing he did do.
Th- uh, this whole journey is about him trying to get back to his wife and son.
And you think they're gonna like it if you bring a son back with them?
They'd probably like it better if you didn't sleep with the pig transforming witch.
I should also add, at this point, everyone. So this is something as a sidebar I do have to add. The Iliad make it a very big point that at at this point in the journey, most most of the people who went to Troy have had affairs with other women, whether it's
Yeah.
slave girl, prostitute, the camp hole, the random prisoner they took.
Well,
Virtually
yeah, that.
everyone there have pretty much had an affair at this point.
Well, no, absolutely. Like that was the whole thing with Achilles and Perseus.
And it should also
Even
be
though
noted,
Achilles had a child as well.
like, even though they don't openly say Odysseus did so the same, it's kind of hard not to assume at this point.
No, he probably definitely did. My point is not that he slept with her. My point is he slept with a crazy woman.
Who was a witch who had the power to turn him into bacon
More reason to get out of there. Or at
using
the very least, you're gonna sleep with her. Don't spend a year there. Like I could understand one night, but he spent a year
he
and fathered a child.
Okay, I'm just gonna point out. Look where he was on the map at this point. He was all the way up at Italy. He probably never thought he was going back home at this point.
He was determined. Like the whole point of this was to get back home, and that's actually a point that we're gonna look at again. Uh, but okay,
Or
so
maybe it took this many. It's like I'll give you the supplies and a map to get back, but you got to work for it. So every bit of supply took a day of sleeping with her. So it took to get a year's worth of supply took a year worth of sleeping with her.
that actually has more credibility for what's gonna happen next. Um, because eventually, after a year, he does decide, hey, I should probably get home.
I got enough supplies now. I can go. I worked hard enough. I got the supplies. Like
Oh, yeah, he worked hard enough. However, for his journey, Circe's, although she begs him to stay, he refuses. So apparently, he didn't care that much about upsetting the crazy witch. Anyway, um, she does give him some advice that he needs to go to the underworld to seek a blind prophet in order to figure out what hazards lie ahead and what he needs to avoid in order to make it back to his wife Penelope and their son, who he has not seen in over 10 years. Make it back to Ithaca. And so, with that, he finally leaves, and that's where we're going to go visit the underworld. Go ahead and switch slides, which in this case is located to the west. That's west. Yeah, that's west on the map. Okay.
in northern Italy.
Yeah. So, okay, we'll get into that in a minute, but now we can see where his journey's gone. Basically, he does make it to the underworld. And go ahead and switch slides. In the underworld, he meets the blind prophet. I'm going to butcher this name. Tiresias. Tiresias. That's probably that's as close as I'm
Tiresias.
going to
Yeah.
get. Yeah, that's close I'm going to get. Tiresias, who warns him of the dangers and warns him especially to avoid an island where Helios's cattle, Helios, the god of the sun, which is not Apollo. Apollo and the god Apollo is not the god of the sun. That's a Hollywood misconception. Helios is the god of sun, and he has cattle on an island. And he warns him not to eat those cattle because they're sacred, and if he does, bad things will happen. Now, that's pretty much the best advice he gives him. He also meets various heroes down there. This is where he meets Achilles and Agamemnon in the underworld to find out, and where we find out that they died, because if we read the Iliad, we don't know that. He finds out about Agamemnon's death, about how he was stabbed by his wife after coming back home. And if Achilles is also rather bitter about, dying in Troy. Now, it doesn't actually say how Achilles died. It just says that he died. So that part is in the Iliad, but the Achilles tendon and the heel and everything, that's not mentioned. By the way, I should also mention the Trojan horse was mentioned in the beginning when they were telling songs about Odysseus and how they were able to trick the Trojans with the horse. So that is in the Odyssey, but again, all this stuff is mentioned very briefly. The details are very fuzzy, not a lot's meant, which is why other works besides the Iliad and the Odyssey had to kind of fill in the gaps of what happened during the Trojan War.
So
But that's his visit to the underworld.
So one thing I do find funny is one, they put the entrance to the underworld in where Massilia would be in the future. Which is a
Yes.
I think a state that Rome will have to capture eventually when they begin their conquest of Gaul, of the Gallic territory, if memory serves correctly.
Okay,
Uh
so it's funny you mentioned that. Go ahead and switch slides. So when it came to the Greeks in the underworld, they actually had. Now, I have to give some conception here. The underworld is the realm of Hades, where your soul goes to be judged, and you either go to Elysium or you go to Tartarus. We know that basically, right? Um, Now, however, the Greeks did believe that there were real world entrances to the land of Hades or to the underworld. And a couple of them included Cape Tanarine, which is in Peloponnese, Greece, and this is the one that they believe Orpheus went into to recover his wife. There's also the Acheron River near Epirus, Greece, the Necro Mountain of Ifro next to Mesopotamia, Greece, Lake Avenarus near Campania, Italy, and then Pluto's Gate in Turkey. These are some of the, basically, I guess you could call them underworld gates or hell gates if you want to be dramatic. So this was a deep Greek belief, and these were often caves or, you know, no, they were mostly caves, dark places, often filled with water that you could go in because, of course, the Greeks believed the five rivers and the boatmen and the river Styx. Any questions?
no, but I did have another bit of mythos and history to add in to not so much this, but since we were at Italy and eventually we're going to be away from Italy, um, with the Trojans currently being essentially Troy being destroyed, and the few Trojans who survived, they fled to an area, and Rome having to want to tie everything to Greek mythos. Guess who they are the descendants of?
Um, Wait, the Trojans or the people they came into contact with?
The Rome, well, what the Romans would, they would think a lot of the Trojans fled to Rome, from which many of the some of the tribes of that was in Italy would, intermingle and marry with the Trojans, which gave them the basis that, they essentially descended from those of Troy.
Yeah, but do you mean also the Etruscans, or were you also talking about like
Both, kind
some
of.
of this? Like, okay, got it.
Both. Yeah, it's hinted that it's the Etruscan, but you know how with a lot of the Romans, they
Yeah,
like to
this is
associate themselves with a lot of that whole region to give
Matt.
themselves
Rome.
legitimacy of the entire
Okay,
Italian
Rome
peninsula.
plagiarizes anything and everything, so it's like,
Yes.
it's hard to tell things.
But this one, I always thought it was interesting that Odysseus goes up towards Italy, especially when at this time if you're believing some of the Roman Trojan mythos. The Trojans are fleeing Troy to the Italian peninsula at this time.
Yeah, no, that's
So it's funny
interesting.
that to think that they're almost passing each other at this point.
Well, we saw in the first map, Troy's on the other side, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's all the way in Turkey.
Yeah. So, eh. No, but that is a funny coincidence still. But what can you do?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the reality of this, and I'm piecing together this to kind of show what this is, but we'll get back to that at the end. So, any other questions?
No.
All right, go ahead and switch slides. So now they kind of get a bit more on track, at least going the right direction now after, getting ridiculously lost. And this is where they famously meet the Sirens. And again, we're just looking at that. So go ahead and switch slides. So the Sirens we discussed in another video. So I'm not going to go too much into it. We all know songs. They sing songs, drive men to their death. Odysseus had his men fill their ears with beeswax so that they couldn't hear the song, again, showing his cleverness. And then he tied himself to his mast so he could hear the song and go on. And no matter how much he screamed, his men couldn't hear him. So he became the first person to hear the song. But what isn't mentioned is that if anyone ever did hear the Sirens song and live, all the Sirens would die. So they died. And we discussed some possibilities of the siren myth in our video discussing the Sirens, which you can find in Mythical Monster Investigations entitled Sirens. I don't even remember what number video that
I'll
is,
just
but if
link
you're,
them all in the
yeah, just
description.
link the ones. So
And they're
yeah,
all in
that's
the
about
playlist
it.
anyway, so.
Yeah. So no, that's about it. Anything to go with that?
Not much to add here, other than the
Yeah.
Sirens are apparently in the Italian peninsula, right literally in the middle of the Roman Sea, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much. But like I said, we've covered them to length,
W-
so we don't need to go into them
Which,
much.
ironically
So
enough, is where a lot of the piracy was. Okay.
yeah. So yeah, that makes sense.
I'm now
So
wondering if the Sirens was an analogy for female pirates.
I mean, it's not impossible. Like we explored it also. Being lured in. Some of the massive ships had females on their front. Could be an analogy for a lot of things. We also talked about female possible calls from help coming from wind traveling through rocks, things like that. So there could be a lot of things, but again, in the very least, he's in the right direction. So go ahead and switch slides. Now we come to the more famous one, which most people know about, where he literally comes between the original rock and a hard place. The monster of Scylla and Charybdis. And we can see, like from Troy, how ridiculously far he got off track. I mean, seriously. Like, how? Like, Zed, this is a little ridiculous, right?
Just a bit.
Right? I mean, look where Ithaca is. Look where he is now. Look where he started at Troy. I mean, come on.
He left the Mediterranean Sea and is all the way in the Roman Sea.
Tell me about it. Okay, so basically, Odysseus has to go through this strait, and he's left with two bad choices, which we've also covered this in another video. I believe we looked at it in Sea Monsters. So again, we'll link that in the description. But we have basically he had two choices. One, he could go closer when sailing through this. He could go closer to Silica, who was a giant monster with 6 heads, who was going to eat 6 of his men. Or he could sail closer to Charybdis, which was actually supposed to be a giant monster who engulfed everything, creating a whirlpool, and that whirlpool would take his whole ship. Uh, Obviously, he chose to lose 6 of his men, which, to be fair, his men are the reason. Like, he's kind of like in this position because of the whole opening of the bag win. So I'm not sure he felt as bad about this as he let on, though the book says he felt very bad about this decision. Any comments about that?
Yeah.
Go ahead and switch slides. Yeah. So, okay. So Silica, obviously, we don't have a six-headed monster, but oddly enough, the giant whirlpool is real and does exist to this day. Now, it's not as big as it used to be, but it's caused by inrushing currents, but it definitely was strong enough to pull down boats into the sea. So there is some truth to this, and I want that remembered. But other than that, yeah, original rock and hard place. Any other questions?
Not for
No?
this one.
Okay. Go ahead and switch slides. So now, bear in mind, we went to the underworld. And in the underworld, we met a blind prophet. And the one thing he said was to avoid an island with Helios's cows or cattle. And most of all, don't eat said cattle.
And it should also be noted, Helios isn't just a sun god; he's a sun titan.
Yes.
So
So, Zed,
he even
can
bigger.
you guess what they did when they saw the island? Zed?
They opened a restaurant.
Oh yeah, they open
Actually,
McDonald's.
yes. That's pretty close to what happened. So they don't have time to mourn, but they are tired. And basically, even though Odysseus tells them to sail on, they decide to land on the island of Thrinacia, which, by the way, is a mythological island. And as far as I can tell, does not exist. Some people think that he actually landed on the other side of Sicily, like literally across from where he landed on the Cyclops, or one of the small neighboring islands that could have existed if this story actually has more reality than there is. But anyway, he tells his men, don't eat the cattle. So take three guesses what they did.
They immediately started eating the cattle.
They immediately started eating the cattle while Odysseus took a nap. Go ahead and switch slides.
It should be noted that Helios, being the sun god, sees everything during the daytime.
Yeah.
Big point of mythos, because when Aphrodite and Ares are having an affair, is Helios is the one who spots them and tell Hephaestus. That's the story of how the rooster come into being in Greek mythology. Is Ares put his number one commander in charge. I can't remember his name, and he said, "Be sure to tell me before Helio go for his ride through the sky in his sun chariot, so that way I can leave before daybreak. Because otherwise, if Helios is in the sky, he'll spot the affair." And the god went to sleep mainly because of the god Hypno, daughter, a son of Nox, the Titan of the night. And basically, once he fall asleep, Ares is so mad he turns his commander into a creature that will always caw every time it see the sun, aka a rooster.
So basically, the god of war turned one of his men into a cock.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I had
No,
to.
it's exactly that. That's exactly the story.
No, it's exactly what happened, but yeah. So anyway, now again, this is supposed to be a mythological island, but based on the area and the cattle around there, they would have been uh, red cattle, which, as we talked about in the Hercules video, these cattle are especially very expensive cattle and known for their very high grade of beef. And the red color, it kind of fits why they'd be considered cattle of the sun god. So, in a way, it makes sense. And considering that beef was definitely kind of was like preserved for royalty or even sacrifices, you could see where this came from about don't eat the bloody cattle. So basically, Odysseus wakes up to his men barbecuing and falls down crying for what might happen. But, you know, he's got to get home, so he gets into his ship. And at first, nothing horrible actually happens. But as Shadow R. Fox mentioned, the sun god sees all, and he's very, very annoyed. In fact, he's downright mad. And he petitions to Zeus about this, and Zeus decides that, yeah, this needs to have punishment. So Zeus strikes his ship with a thunderbolt, and only Odysseus survives because he didn't actually eat any of the cattle. Clear so far?
Should also be noted that oftentimes cows are used as sacrifices to the gods. So
Yes.
that's like a double cardinal sin that they eat the cows of the god as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this was like bad all the way around. Okay, so go ahead and switch slides. Basically, his ship is destroyed, and he is floating at sea for 9 days until he washes ashore of the goddess Calypso. And well, this is where kind of the rest of the 10 years happens, as Calypso basically falls in love with Odysseus and wanted him for her husband and held him captive there for 7 years. Now, I want to mention Shadow R. Fox and I have talked about this before, and we've kind of talked about the fact, jokingly speaking, about the fact that Odysseus was basically spending 7+ years screwing a goddess. And Shadow R. Fox made the point, like, what, you're gonna say no to a goddess? And we've gone back and forth about this. Now, I want to make it clear though, in the book, it does make it very clear that Calypso is holding Odysseus against his will. Odysseus is a prisoner, and he is afraid of angering her to go home. So he is actually being held captive on this island as her essential boy toy. He wants to go home, but he's afraid of pissing her off. So, Shadow R. Fox, you are correct. He is being held hostage as.
Okay, so there I now
Yes.
again, Circe's you kind of got me on that one a little bit, but
Yeah.
Calypso I knew for a fact that was not against Odysseus.
No. Like, Circe, I won't give credit for, but Calypso, I have to. No, you're right about Calypso. She was straight up holding him hostage.
Yes.
Like, this is a case of a woman having a male sex. Holy crap! This is a male sex slave. Okay, and a king, no doubt. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And even if he wasn't being held captive, I need to also stress the point. His last two most dangerous harrowing thing of this journey had been caused by him angering a god. He angered
Yeah.
Poseidon, his crew angered Helios, and now do you think he want to hit strike 3 and anger Calypso now?
Yeah. No. All good points. And again, I have to emphasize, like, he even said that Odysseus cried every night because he couldn't be back with Penelope. And he wanted to go home, but Calypso would not let him, and even offered him immortality to stay with her forever. So
Now,
no, he was being straight up held
to
hostage.
to give you some legitimate Archimage, I totally would have taken the immortality. I would stay there. I would say screw Penelope. I got a goddess now.
Considering how I now feel about someone named Penelope, it's hard for me to argue with that.
No, no, but
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I gotta ask. You know, I often gotta ask myself, would I go back in this situation? I'm like, I don't know, because everything indicate that he was really in love with Penelope, and she was his one
Yeah.
true love. And I'm like, okay, if she truly is the one true love, I can see leaving a little goddess who is offering me immortality and an eternity of pleasure for my one true love. Oh, man, even saying that out loud, I feel like a chump, but okay. I feel like a Disney prince saying that out loud. Freaking,
I know, right?
I
Like,
hate myself for it.
I'm imagining little cartoon birds behind you while you're holding up a sword in valiant effort with coattails behind you. Like, I almost literally screamed at you, "Man up!"
I probably
Okay,
no. You know what? I better not say what I'm about to say because it's gonna get me in trouble.
I've
When
really,
has
it's
that
been
ever
worse than what
stopped you?
yeah, it's been worse than some of the things we've said. Just say it.
I was gonna say I probably would say, "Hey Calypso, why don't you come to the island and then we can we can maybe do this open marriage thing."
I like how you
mean-
thought that was going to be one of the worst. That is one of the more tame things you have
Well,
said.
I was
Yeah.
just thinking, I'm like, I just said Odysseus didn't want to offend a goddess, and I'm like, I don't think she's gonna like the idea that I'm having her be essentially my mistress on this island.
I mean, essentially, she is.
True, but I'm the mistress in this case. I don't think she's gonna like being.
I mean,
I'm just thinking
Okay.
Odysseus could play his card right, and I've seen a lot of harem anime where this could have went really well for him.
okay, you remember how much the Greeks like tragedies, right?
He should try. He should went for it.
Yeah. In what scenario with Greeks' love of tragedies do you see this going the right way?
We need to send the Odyssey to Japan and tell them make this a harem anime.
Okay, I am almost positive that already exists in some form.
Actually, no. Well, not
Okay,
that
the
I know
Odyssey in anime form probably like Japan has an anime form of the Count of Monte Cristo. There's no way that there's not some form of the Odyssey.
of. Mm?
All right, well, actually, that's going to be a talking point later on, so save that for a bit. But okay, so he spent 7 years as a hostage sex slave to a goddess. That's a really weird sentence to say out loud. Anyway, Athena, finally, 7 years after 7 years of watching this, decides to get off her ass and do something. Because, apparently 7 years is quick for a goddess.
Well, yeah, I'm
Like-
sure she was just having a 7-year pedicure.
She's the
Actually,
goddess of war, so yeah.
probably yes, because well, remember this whole thing started because of a golden apple and who was the fairest.
Yeah, that's true. But she's helped Odysseus through most of this journey, and then suddenly decides to wait 7 years to help him again. It's like what? I'm sorry, I'm gonna say it. Woman, get off your ass and do something.
Okay,
So-
there was an anime. I forgot about that one. There was one.
Told you.
I forgot about that one. But it's
okay,
not
so-
a harem anime.
Oh, oh yes, the horror.
It is
that
a
just
horror.
ruins it. Okay, moving on. Not everything needs to be a harem anime, Shadow R Fox.
Well, we can fix that. Let's see.
Okay, moving on. So Athena, who is the goddess of warfare, especially intelligence in warfare, goes to her dad and makes him make Calypso release him. Good job, Athena. Really showing off those goddess authority there. So basically, he's finally able to leave. So he immediately builds up a raft and he goes off. And the Zeus says, "Everybody, he's suffered enough. Leave him alone." Poseidon didn't get the message and destroys the raft. Dick. And yeah, go ahead and switch slides.
Poseidon, he probably did get the message. He just didn't care to tend to listen. He rarely did listen to Zeus on things when it came
Yeah.
to his domain, which was
Okay,
all
so-
of the oceans.
That's very true. So actually, in the story, it says it's Poseidon wasn't present for the meeting, but he still probably knew. Regardless, so for once, a shipwreck didn't throw him completely off course, and this is where he ends up in the land of Shyria? Whatever. So finally, he's somewhat close to Ithaca after nearly 10 years. Go ahead and switch slides. Now, this is actually the home stretch. He's on land, and this is actually this is now where our story started, where he's talking to the king and queen, telling him his story. The king and queen are moved. Now, I must admit that I'll also say when he first came, he showed up completely naked and accidentally ran into her daughter and her handmaids, who, after getting over the shock of seeing a naked man, helped him out, gave him clothing, and brought him over to the feast, and that's how this whole thing started. But they sent him home. Now, he was finally home and in sight, and that's when Athena actually decided to, not wait 7 years to help him, disguised him as an old man because his kingdom was not as he left it. There were suitors there who were basically eating all of his food and making his house a wreck. But Penelope, his loving wife, had been kept faithful this entire time, waiting for her husband for these 20 years. And she kept the suitors at bay with two ways. One is that she wouldn't marry until her son uh, began to grew a beard, which had been 20 years. Puberty finally hit. Which actually, considering that, maybe Tom Holland was a good choice for Odysseus' son for this movie. Because I'm sorry, that kid still looks like he's 12.
So I'll
Moving
give
on, though.
Athena this though. She did do more than just help disguise Odysseus. She
Yeah, she did.
She did also, if I recall correctly, she helped kept Penelope younger. So because I remember specifically Penelope was not ravaged by the time to make her look older, and she was still keeping her youthful appearance since Odysseus left. And that was because I think Athena was either Athena or Aphrodite or one of the goddesses was directly interfering in that. I remember that specifically. I think it was Athena.
Yeah. But anyway, where was I going with this? Okay, so yeah, he's got to deal with so Penelope, wait until her son grew some facial hair. The son also went to try to look for his father for a little bit, and that's where the son found out about Agamemnon when he went and found Menelaus, who's back with Helen, and they're the ones who are alive and apparently happy-ish, I guess. So yeah, Helen wound up with Menelaus.
Very, very strange if you read the ending of the Iliad, how they resolve things. It's very weird.
It is. But, we'll another time.
It was
but
like
then Penelope
ran our ideas.
Yeah, no, completely. Penelope's next challenge to keep the suitors at bay was that Odysseus' father died, so she was weaving a burial cloth for him, and she said she would marry after the burial cloth was done. Each night she would work on it, and then each night she would undo the work she did and then start over. And apparently she kept up this ruse for 3 years until she was finally caught by one of the suitors who was questioning why it was taking 3 years to weave something. So that was over, and then being pressed, she then had to issue the final challenge, which this one famously was to string Odysseus's bow and shoot through 12 eyes of an axe in a row. Most the suitors couldn't even string the bow. It was a very hard bow to string, very big, very weighty, until the beggar came, being Odysseus disguised, who did it easily and shot through all the heads. Now, the suitors, of course, weren't going down without a fight, but at this time, while they were watching this in amazement, their weapons had been stolen by Odysseus' son with the help of Athena. So basically, they died.
And I think also that Athena helped directly because he made that armor fall apart, if memory serves correctly.
I don't remember, but that sounds right.
I remember she did some goddess shenanigans and really helped them out because it was two people against what literally was 30 plus people.
Yes, it was a lot, but basically Odysseus wins the day, and then his final test comes from his wife. His wife, to make sure this is in fact her husband, asks him about moving their bed into the courtyard or something. Basically asks her about moving her bed from her bedchamber
To a different
Odysseus laughs and say, "That's impossible because I built our bed and it was built out of the tree in our room." That's when she knows that, yes, this is her husband, and that's her. They're happy and they live happily ever after. Well, not really, but yeah, okay, whatever. The story ends there. So he's reunited with Penelope after 20 years.
So okay, sidebar. From the happily ever after. The suitors had family member who came and sought revenge, and they led a army of the family members at Ithaca, in which Odysseus had to rally the remaining nobles on Ithaca to fight against the suitor's family, but he did defeat them, and then it was happily ever after.
There was a little bit more, but you know what? We
Yeah,
don't need
we don't talk
we
about
don't
that.
need. Let's not get into that. Okay, basically that's the end of the Odyssey. Yay! Hooray! Good job. Good job. Any questions?
I can't wait to see Christopher Nolan's version of the Odyssey to see how this is gonna work.
Yeah, but basically, this is the stuff that we should be seeing in Christopher Nolan's Odyssey:
I,
the giants, the Lotus, everything else.
I'm calling it now. The cannibal and the lotus. No, the cannibal is gonna be completely changed. Where they're going,
Well,
where Odysseus' main are going to be the hostile party, not the cannibals.
Well, also, we already saw a change because what we've seen in the trailers, we've seen them facing giants who are fully armored, first of
Yes.
all. And we've also seen Odysseus fighting the giant, which is not, like I said, he never stepped foot on the island. And his men got killed by them. He sailed away because he never got on the island in the first place.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if when we saw those armored people running at them, I don't know who they were. I don't know whether they were supposed to be the giants, whether they were supposed to be.
Well, they're an army of giants, so they're probably the
Oh, the
giants.
army of I've
Well, there
only
were
saw the
several of
trailer
them.
once.
There were several of them in armor, so I'm assuming that they're. If it's more than one, it's probably, and they didn't have one eye, so it's probably giants, not the Cyclops. And they were all bigger than the Greeks, so
Okay.
I'm assuming that's who they are. They might be someone else, but that's my assumption. Okay, with that, go ahead and switch to the next slides. What are we taking away from this? Okay, so oddly enough, Odysseus is Odysseus and Hercules are two of the more popular Greek mythos characters, and their relation is, or their rivalry is kind of like Batman and Superman in modern day, in that Superman, like Hercules, is the ideal form of a hero, the version that we can never meet. Like Hercules was, supernaturally strong, supernaturally powerful. You could never reach the power of Hercules, who could literally wrestle the three-headed demon dog Cerberus or take down a giant, just as you can never really reach the heights of Superman. But Odysseus represented what you could become, as Batman kind of represents it.
If you were
With
rich.
training and yeah, if but rich, but that is something that is theoretically achievable.
Yes.
You could theoretically become Batman, as you could theoretically become
I
Odysseus.
I, I
You could
just
be
want to
clever.
kind of interject how Batman is rich to the point of being like a billionaire, which many people, is not easily achievable by the average person. Just like how Odysseus was rich
A
as a
king.
king, which was
He
not
wasn't rich as a
easily
king, he was a king.
well, not easily achievable by a common day Greek of the time.
Yes. No, that's true. But that's true in most mythos that a lot of them are, billionaire, and a lot of the original stories were rich people who were born. In fact, I think one of the few heroes that wasn't rich was the Shadow. And well, that's straight up because the Shadow stole a rich person's identity. Like he flat out stole Lamont Cranston's identity. Yes, for those who are fans of The Shadow, which I might be in the minority here, in the original story, The Shadow was not Lamont Cranston. He straight up stole Lamont Cranston's identity and then blackmailed him with jail unless he let him keep using Lamont's identity. It's actually a fun story you can read about in The Shadow Laughs, but not the point. My point is that Odysseus is something that you could achieve as a mortal man because Odysseus was not a demigod. He was just a mortal. He was a clever one. So, in theory, you could become someone like Odysseus. And that's kind of like, there are people who love Batman and Superman. Superman for the heights you can never reach, and Batman, the tangible hero you could become. That's kind of what Hercules and Odysseus represent respectively, in their own way, though, more Greek. Now, with that, what does the Odyssey really state? Was it an actual journey, or is it kind of a fisherman's tale? Because if you think about it, first of all, getting that far off course, Odysseus should have definitely fired his navigator, because that was ridiculous. Like, he was way off course. Like, it might have actually been better for him to go up from the underworld and just where he was at the underworld and just walk the land to get back to Ithaca. He probably would have gotten there sooner if he had gone on foot.
I think this is 100% believable.
Well, that's the thing. Each piece individually, I think, would be believable. And that's what makes me wonder, what if this is kind of a collection of fishermen's tales and stories that they've seen while traveling out? Because sea travel was immensely important to the Greeks, as their land was pretty much encased by the Mediterranean mountainsides. Seafaring is how they traded, it's how they got goods. Seafaring was very important. So, this collection of sea tales could very well be what inspired the Odyssey to collect them all into one man's journey, telling about the various things seen on this journey. Yes, no, maybe.
Well, one thing I always kind of thought, what I was kind of alluding to was, this was a sexist joke. Odysseus is a man. He's not gonna ask for direction. Real men don't ask for direction. So clearly,
Okay, well,
it makes.
then I have to turn in some kind of card, because I'm sorry, if I'm lost, fuck you, I'm asking for directions.
Clearly, Odysseus, he's like, do you want direction? I know where I'm going, damn it.
Okay, I will kind of say, while I will ask for directions, I admit I do hate asking for directions.
Odysseus is like,
I
no.
really
I
do
know
hate
where I
that.
am. I know Ithaca is out there. You sure you don't want me? No. I can find it. Okay.
Don't worry, it's a sexist joke towards men. Nobody cares.
He
You
just
forget,
didn't want
Shadow
to ask for
Fox. You're
direction.
allowed to make all the sexist jokes towards men you want. You only cross the line when you make it about a woman.
He just didn't want to ask for direction.
That fits as well as anything else. And Zed, you got a card?
It's more like a certificate.
I didn't get a certificate, man. I got gypped. My
Oh,
college
God.
didn't give me a certificate. Like, wait, I'm getting gypped on the certificates here. Oh, well. Anyway, so, yeah, a lot of the premise is that while many things can be overcome with intellect, don't allow your pride to bring you down. And also, get a crew who listens to you. Like, for God's sake. They screwed him over like 3 times.
Yeah, I mean,
Zed, you heard this story. Would he have gotten home sooner if his crew had not screwed him over?
Yes.
Thank you.
Again, that's why I'm sorry. If I was him and I'm like, oh, look, there's home 5 minutes from now. Well, I'm going to shut my eyes for 10 seconds, and then I open them, and I'm back where I started. I'm like, okay, whose fault is this? And if any of you lie to me, I'm just going to kill you.
so
Yeah.
I will say this is where I did like the
Nope,
two-part
died anyway.
Odyssey movie, where they kind of explain the opening, have Athena warning Odysseus about how his crew will be his downfall, because they're too
Rambunctious.
rambunctious and precocious about going into things and getting into things that they shouldn't do and not listening to him. And the only reason he actively claimed that the only reason he clearly keep them around is because they stroke his ego, because they're completely loyal to him, even though they don't want to always listen. They all, they do kind of massage his ego. That
Is
again was
that
from the
in
movie.
Is that in the 1997 version?
I believe so. That the one that came on the Sci-Fi Channel and stuff.
I believe so. That was a surprisingly faithful adaptation.
Yes.
Which, say what you want about sci-fi, while their effects are questionable at best, sometimes they get the story pretty bloody close.
No, this one was pretty spot. I think the only thing they leave out was the drug island, the drug trip, and the cannibal trip. They don't do those two, I believe, are the only two things they omit. Oh,
Yeah,
and
a
the
lot of them, like,
initial siege of that island, of that not
yeah,
Port City. Sorry, Port City.
yeah, a lot of them leave out those three factors. Like, I've never seen a version of the Odyssey where he faces uh, the island, basically the land of giants that destroy most of his ships. They face the Cyclops, but they don't often face the giant army. Maybe it's because he leaves and kind of runs away with his tail between his legs. I guess that's not a very heroic thing to see in like on a movie screen.
Yeah, so it's
Although maybe they show like there's a couple different versions of it. I've seen a lot of them. I never saw the 1977 one with Kirk Douglas though, which I don't know how faithful that one is.
no, I never saw that one. That 1991 with the one from Sci-Fi Channel was the one I grew up on.
Yeah. There are others, and there's also ones that are in Italian and other languages, so it's like, oy vey. So it can get a little confusing. But yeah, so where was I going with this? So, but that's basically for what the Odyssey was. I think that a collection of fisherman tales into an epic kind of makes the most sense. Because I'm sorry, how do you get that lost? Like that's saints. Like literally, he could have gone on land and walked to Ithaca, and I think he would have gotten there faster. No,
I can believe someone got lost. I mean,
I believe someone got lost, but 10 years. Come on.
again, they want to ask for direction.
All right. Well, okay. So that is our look into the Odyssey about what we should see and shouldn't see in Nolan's upcoming Odyssey. And I want to mention a few things. One is that Helen of Troy is mentioned specifically to be rather pale and very white,
And I think blonde hair,
um,
if I'm not
and
mistaken.
with golden locks. Achilles is also mentioned to have
He
golden
definitely have
locks
golden locks, yes.
and is supposed to be a very masculine, muscular man. A man.
I'm trying to remember if they said he had. Didn't they also say he had blue eyes or something like that? Or am I thinking something
I,
else?
I don't remember the blue
Okay.
eyes, but he had blonde
I
locks
know
and
golden
he was
locks
a
because
muscular man.
and golden locks. I do remember that specifically because they if I recall when he get his second set of armor from Hephaestus and his mother, it alludes how the armor was his golden hair shine just like his golden armor or something like that.
Yeah. When he gets second set of armor, it's very golden. So yeah, but again, Achilles is supposed to be a man.
Well, yes. Was that ever in debate?
Uh, if the rumors about the Christopher Nolan version are true, yes.
I know that they said they wanted to get Elliot Page to play Achilles.
Ellen Page.
Oh, Ellen Page. Ellen Page to
I
play
don't.
Achilles.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not calling a delusional woman Elliot. No. Just no.
But I didn't know what names he was going by. Oh, he, she, whoever was going by. But you know what? I'm for watching the train wreck when it comes to streaming. I'm not watching that in theater, but I'll watch it when it comes to
Oh no, fully on. Like we got to see how much how much he screwed it up.
just like with the Justice League. When we streamed that, we didn't watch the uncut version in theater. Oh, thank goodness
Oh
we didn't
God,
watch
no.
that. Oh my goodness, that took so long watching that.
Honestly, we probably shouldn't have watched it in one setting. It would have been better if we broke it up a
Oh,
few times.
yeah. Oh my goodness, I remember saying through that.
Like
We
we
thought it
had
was gonna
parts
be.
where
We thought it was gonna be over fairly. Like it was just gonna be. What was it, like 3 hours, 4 hours? How long was that?
It was long.
I remember
I think it was over 4 hours.
we started when the sun was still out, and then it was like dark when we left.
Yeah, no. I it took so long. Uh, okay, it was 4 hours and 2 minutes long. Oh god, that was a long ass thing.
A lot of zoom in slow mo shots.
So many slow-mo shots. And so like I will admit Snyder's version like canonically made a bit more sense,
It was more
but it was
definitive, yes.
so long. He still could have cut out a bunch of stuff. Like the slow-mo stuff. Oh my
Could have
gosh.
cut out half the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me about it.
At least then it would have been reasonable because it would have been 2 hours instead of 4 hours of nonsense.
Ugh.
Again, seeing the regular and then the Snyder cut, it made me very quickly realize there's a reason editors cut out huge parts of a movie. It's because
Yeah,
there's
Yeah.
a lot of bit that people just don't want to sit down and watch.
they just don't care about or like really contribute to the story that much.
Well, yeah, because that's what it is. They storyboarded everything, made all of it, and then once it got to the editing room, they're like, "Do we really need this, this, and this?" No. Then why is it here?
Ugh.
Well, the Snyder Cut just said, do we really need this? Yes. Okay. I don't even want to imagine what the editors' looks on their faces were making that.
I wouldn't think about it.
Like, it wouldn't surprise me if Snyder himself was in the editing room telling them, "Nope, leave it."
I can see that. All right. And with that, that covers the Odyssey. And I'm not gonna lie, it's been a long week, so I kind of threw this together. So I didn't really have a basis for what to do with who's that monster Pokemon, and I basically gave Zed all of 5 seconds to come up with something. So
Yeah, thanks.
you're welcome. Take it away.
I'm gonna kill you the next time I see you. Oh, okay. What parts were these in order again? I forgot.
Okay,
after all this
so
crap.
I think we did Tornadus. No, wait, sorry. The drugs would be first. So we did a
Okay, the drugs is the entire plot line of Detective Pikachu.
So the all drug.
Yes.
And I put the
Because
main
yes,
villain.
that is a thing that exists.
And I used the main villain as one of the person with the picture of the drug and Slowpoke, since that's what it kind of made them do on the drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, so that works for the Lotus Eaters. Okay, so we already took care of the Cyclops, so we skipped that. Then there was the king who gave the bag of winds, but I'm not sure if you really had anything for that.
That's the
that would
that's
be
the one above it.
Tornadus. That would be Tornadus, who essentially is, I guess, Pokemon's version of some sort of wind god.
Oh,
His entire thing is making strong windstorms.
Okay, that works.
Also,
And,
for some reason, he was the only pure flying type Pokemon for a while.
Yes.
Not a bird, a buff guy on a cloud.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, he looks more like Genie.
Yeah, there are 3 of them. They're all based on genies. Wait, no, sorry. Now there's 4 of them.
Again, Pokemon is so weird.
It does have an alternate form that is a bird, though, for reasons that exist.
Okay, and
Probably
then we have after that was the island of Landstrungana or whatever that had the giants who were cannibals. I don't think you had anything for that.
No, as far as I'm aware, I don't think any Pokedex entries Pokemon being
Any Pokemon that can Gigamax. There we go. There's the giants.
Okay, yeah, there's the giant one.
That's
Well, that's technically all of them. All of them can grow big.
There we go.
okay, so all of them fit. Then there's Cersei.
Jinx.
That would be Jinx.
I still don't get that.
Don't her
Why-
Pokédex entries say that she loves?
There actually is a Pokedex entry about Jinx mesmerizing people to make it dance in unison with it. So
Okay.
not exactly, but fairly similar.
Let me look real fast because I vaguely recall there was a um yeah, the first one is the seductively wiggle its hips as it walks. It can cause people to dance in unison with it.
Did they have to add the word seductively with
Y-
that thing?
Yes, in Pokemon Red and Blue they did.
Why?
Okay, don't worry. In Ruby and Sapphire they say she walks rhythmically,
I don't
swaying
want
her
that
hip
either.
and shaking it, um,
Yep.
alluring
I don't like
people,
that either.
compelling them to shake their hips. Oh, she could have also been a little bit of the siren because he cries. It cries sound like human speech. However, it's
There you go.
impossible to say tell what they're trying to say. Um. So yeah, Calypso. Oh, sirens.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, all I ever think about when I see Jinx is the whole controversy
Oh yeah.
that originally her face was black and they thought it was blackface.
Yep.
God, that was stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, but if you're offended by a freaking Pokemon color,
They did the
you are
same thing with
soft.
Mr. Popo from Dragon Ball.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but they never
you are
changed his face.
soft.
Yes, they did. In some iterations, they made him blue.
Oh, I never saw any of those iterations. I always
I
saw black
swear there
faces.
was some iteration that made him blue. I'm gonna find it.
I don't doubt that they did. They never did that while I was watching it on Toonami.
No, and I never caught that either. That was something I learned about later.
Like
Yeah,
I have no doubt they did that.
yeah, if you're offended by a cartoon like that, you are way too soft.
Oh, wait till you see the old fashioned Looney Tune.
Yeah, again, way too soft. Uh, okay, and she turned them into pigs. I'm assuming that's the pigs.
Yes. The Colin Pig or something like that, I think.
The what?
Hang on, let me get that name.
Why are there 3 of them?
Well, I was trying to go for the how half his mane was turned into pig.
Oh, I thought you were making some 3 little pigs analogy.
I guess you could. Oinklin?
Really?
Oinklin, I think is the name of it.
Oinkalone. is the
Oinkalone, okay.
pigs.
Really?
Yes.
Ugh. All right. Okay,
And
well,
also, yes, there was a blue Mr. Popo that was done as a 4Kids censorship.
Okay, Full Kids. I never watched it on Full Kids. I've always
I
watched
didn't
it
either,
on
which is why
Toonami.
I never saw this.
that's just dumb.
It's completely dumb.
Eh. Okay, we had Sirens, but we already took care of that in another video.
Oh wow, they made him way
Silica.
too blue.
Oh yeah, no, they really made him blue.
He looked like Blue Man Group. Holy,
Yeah,
that's even
Okay,
more
so-
offensive.
yeah.
So yeah, the only thing left would have been Calypso, and I don't think you like.
We grouped Jinx in with her.
Okay, so
Yeah,
there you go.
that'll cover it.
Okay, that's pretty much it. Anything you guys want to add?
No, that was pretty much it for me.
All right, Zed, what about you?
I'm good.
Okay, Zed, I believe you have not actually read the Odyssey, right?
No.
Okay, yeah, just a thing. So with the 10 years thing, are you kind of surprised that taking 10 years home that basically most of the stuff happens in the first 3 years and they just spend 7 years on an island?
No, that makes sense.
I mean, it's kind of like Castaway at that point.
Yeah, I always thought that was kind of funny. I thought that all of his ventures took 10 years and I find out no, he spent 7 years.
Now 7 of them were nothing.
Yeah. By the way, he did have kids with Calypso, just to say.
Yeah.
You know, goddess, might as well, right?
Yeah, it was already
Calypso
there.
was a. Oh wait, okay, sorry. I thought you said Cersei's.
No. Well, she had Well, he had kids. He had a son with Circe's too, but no, Calypso was a goddess, and she had they had kids, which he also abandoned.
On an island with their goddess mother, oh dear, whatever shall they do?
Okay, what have we talked about? You know, being around a bunch of crazy women.
No, I'm saying do you really want him to take those kids with him back?
Honestly, they might be better off.
And do you want the mother coming back to have conjugal visits with her kids? I
You
mean, not
were
conjugal.
literally trying to suggest a mistress threesome scenario a little while ago.
I mean, look, you're the one who's saying don't date crazy, and now you're suggesting taking crazy
Well, it's
kids
too
back
late for
home with you.
that. Well, it's too late. He already stuck his Johnson in crazy. It's too late now.
Yeah, but taking the kids back are even worse.
For the kids?
I don't know. They may be as crazy as their mother.
There definitely will be if they're around her.
Well, they already have been.
Yeah, but he's been there to kind of shave it off a little bit.
Oh no, he hasn't. No, he hasn't. He's just
Ugh.
you.
Okay.
I'm just thinking. I like how me as the black guy is like, no, he needs to be an absentee father on this one. Normally I say this is a bad stereotype, but no, he needs to be that absentee father. He needs to go, I'm going to get a carton of milk, kid. I'll be back later. And just never show back. I'm going out for a pack of cigarettes. I'll be right back.
Don't abandon your kids.
Odyssey definitely should.
Oh, for heaven. Okay, we're going to move on before any more stereotypes are thought up.
Oh, I just thought of a really horrible joke.
Let's end on it.
Oh, you really? Okay, this.
Go ahead.
If they make Odysseus black, it would make sense for him to abandon so many kids. And someone should pitch that to Christopher Nolan. Say, hey, if you want to make Odysseus black, I got a perfect justification.
Okay, and with that note, thank you for taking a look at the Odyssey. If you want more information on the Odyssey, you could read it, but we all know you're not going to do that. So I guess go watch the 1997 sci-fi version. It's probably as close as you're going to get.
Yes.
Until then, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.